So we're going to do a video a little different than what we've been doing. We're not going to talk about resto mods. We're not going to talk about LS Power. We're not going to talk about Coyotes. But we're going to go into the back shop where we do a lot of work. I mean, we do, and we don't really talk about it because it's a lot of times it's not that much fun doing, you know, brakes on a '67 Chevy Impala. But we will today. We're going to just go over it real quick and just talk about a couple of other things. So behind us, there's a couple of cars that are worth talking about. You got a GT500 Shelby. This is a cool car. It belongs to a very good customer of ours, of course. It's only been painted. It's an original car. The neat thing about this car is it was an export car, and it spent most of its life, except for the last year or two, in Japan. And it's got different gauges and stuff in it. Really kind of an interesting car. And then you've got these two, the blue 67 and then the red 67. So if you're a guy in Naples and you're not sure whether you like convertibles or you like the hardtop, depending on how you want to use the car, the best way to fix that problem is to buy both, one of each. So the 67 red is a 390 horse car, really, really nice car. The 390 is a good running, good engine, fun car. This is one of my bucket list cars. This particular car, we did do the paint and body work on this car a few years ago. It was a restored car, probably done 15 years ago, 20 years ago. The paint and body was good, but not great. So we redid it. It's absolutely beautiful. This is a 435 horse 427. It is a correct done 435 horse 427, which means it still has compression. It still has the correct camshaft. Everything was done very, very well. And as much as I like my LS stuff, I really love them. They're great. And I've told you that they're faster than even this car. It'd be a damn good race. It probably is still quick. I'll probably still lean toward DLS, but it's going to be a damn good race. This thing hauls ass. It really runs good. But this is the pinnacle of C2 Corvettes. If you want a C2 Corvette, this is it. 435 horse car. I love the blue. I like the white interior. It's got a big gear in it. It's got side pipes. I'm fine with the rally wheels. Some people prefer the turbine wheels, but I don't. I like the rally wheels. The red line tire is cool. It's a super well done car. It is a friggin' blast to drive. So obviously he's a good customer of ours. One of the things we're going to talk about in here right now, before we wander around the rest of the shop, is one of the reasons it's here. Okay, the main reason it was here is it's time. It's season's coming. He's going to drive the shit out of it all season. So we do the oil, we turn the car up, clean it up, make everything right. But this is something that has come up last year, and Jim actually suffered with this and has led me to start doing some of these things. Jim had, let's emphasize had, an absolutely beautiful dual quad 57, absolutely gorgeous, and the car was really well done. Somebody else did the car, but we maintained it. Ran perfect, drove perfect. He was driving it as he does, and I actually saw the car in the morning, and the next night, that night, the car had a carburetor fire on 5th Avenue and burned to the ground, destroyed it. So that led me to start thinking, this fire suppression system is what's in my Trans Am race car and every other roundy round car or whatever. So what stops us on particularly a multi-carbureted car from doing something like this? Nothing. And that's what we're going to do to it, because he just lost one beautiful car and he's not going to lose another. This is a tri-power. It has 3 carburetors. That means it has 3 likelihoods problems. And what happens with today's gasoline is the fuel does weird things as it gets old. It affects the rubber strangely. It actually crystallizes and does some weird stuff. So all it has to do is develop some sort of a little BB or some little tiny piece of trash. It hangs a needle and seat and it overflows. The fuel will pour right out here. It'll go into the intake manifold, and then there'll be a spark somewhere underneath. And in a fiberglass car, you've got a couple of seconds to do something about it, or you're going to lose it. In which case, this 57 is gone. Jim wasn't hurt, thank God. Nobody was hurt. Everything was fine, but it was absolutely one of the nicest 57 Vets you've ever seen. So this is one of the nicest 435 horse cars that is a legit 435 horse car. So what are we going to do? So we're going to put this system in the car. There's 2 different ways of discharging this system. This is a heat-sensitive system. This is actually triggered by a fire occurring in the car without the driver doing something about it. But there's also this handle that'll be mounted someplace that's not in your face in the car. and it will have discharge ports that are under the hood, of course, and under the car, probably under the dash as well. So you can trigger this two ways. First of all, this senses heat, it discharges the system, or if you know there's a carburetor fire before this senses the heat, you pull this handle and it discharges the system automatically. The cool thing about this, and I forget the chemical, we have discharged them before, once it's done, there's nothing left. Once it goes off, it puts the fire out and it's clean. There's nothing left. When you spray a fire extinguisher on one of these things, the fire probably doesn't cause as much damage or difficulty to clean up as the powder from the fire extinguisher. The shit is just a pain in the ass. So anyway, that's what we're doing with this car. We're doing it with numerous other cars, particularly the dual quad stuff. So why isn't it on my $300,000 or $400,000 resto mods? Because they don't have carburetors. And they're not sensitive. Everything in the car is new. You're not dealing with potentially 50 or 60-year-old wiring systems that were designed to last 5 years. You're not dealing with multiple carburation. You're dealing with fuel injection system. You're dealing with no rubber lines. There are no rubber lines in the fuel systems on the resto mods. It's all Teflon and metal. So there's a reason we don't, however we have in some of the high-end resto mods, but there's a lot of reason to protect these things. I will put one in my GTO as well, because the cars that mean something to you, I mean, a lot of times if the car's insured properly, which we're going to come back to that, it's on fire, get out of it, call Haggerty and say, hey, sorry man, send me a check. They do, they're great. But when it's something that's significant like this, or my car that means a lot to me, it's worth spending the extra money to protect them with these fire system bottles. We will come out with another video once this is done, and I'll show this installed. It'll be a quick 30-second video, but we'll show it installed in the car. So the other thing we're going to talk about in this room is just the generality of what we do back here. It's not just resto mods, it's not just LS Power. This Catalina that's up here, this lady has had this Catalina for eons. I think forever. And she's been around town, and she's been to all the gas stations, and she's been to the Midas muffler shop, and they've all fucked the car up, and now she's brought it to us, and we're gonna fix it. We don't mind. We will. This is what we do back here, is we do general maintenance on the car. This lady is the coolest lady you've ever met in your life. I asked her because there's stickers on the back window indicating that she was in Vietnam, a pilot in Vietnam. She was a pilot in Vietnam. So I started asking her all these questions because I like planes. So she's telling me stories about flying C-141s into Vietnam and being shot at back when they were shooting at you in Vietnam. She's telling me stories about flying T-38s, Mach supersonic T-38s. The T-38, for you, those of you that don't know, if you watch the astronaut shows where the astronauts have their own personal planes that they bounce back and forth to Houston from Kennedy, it's a white plane with a blue stripe on it, and it's a delta wing plane, and it's the epitome of a fighter pilot. That's what this lady has been flying around. She has 28,000 hours in the air. Cool lady. So the other things that we're doing is the old Chevy that's right here. We're doing suspension work on it and doing bushings. We're doing brake system on it. We're doing just basic maintenance on the car that hasn't been done either done properly or done at all for a very long time. So this shop is not just about the super high-end resto mods. There is a couple in here, but that's not what we mainly do back here. We mainly just do general maintenance. We do oil changes. That one's here for maintenance, just basic maintenance. That is an LS powered resto mod. Believe it or not, that was his original car when he drove it to college. He's older than I am. So this shop is an interesting shop. It has a lot of cool cars in it, and it gets overlooked a lot of times. And I just wanted to point that out to you this time. Thanks.